Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report. Brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino on what, for me, will be the last Handicappers Report before Saratoga. And I was just thinking about, and this is what the evolution in your, when I was a young man, I'd come back from the Independence Day vacation as a bachelor. We used to go to Handicappers, have like a month. Now we come back, and I always tell people, and I'm sure, Seth, you're in the same boat. Once I download the PPs on Monday, the meet starts for me. So we come back on Saturday. We have a nice quiet day on Sunday. And then even though I know the meet starts on Thursday, if you do what we do, once the PPs come out, you kind of get into the flow of it. And so it's really the whole summer. And rumor has it it'll even be more this summer soon.
And then it's not a quiet Sunday for me. I think we have a preseason
show.
show.
You do. My pregame is Wednesday.
Preseason show coming up. So, yeah.
Make sure all the bells and whistles are working for Thursday, July 13th.
Yeah, I was in here yesterday doing the afternoon show, and I said, I opened it up, Seth Merrow in the studio, and then I said, won't be able to say that for too many more days.
No.
We fire up, if people have driven by, our trailers up and rolling, and
it's amazing.
A couple of weeks they'll be working out behind us at this point in the day.
Yes, I always, it's just a tremendous shot, and we've said that I've said it for years, Seth. It's amazing that, to me, it's been 33 years that it hasn't been a 24-day meet.
Mm-hmm.
And
you have to incrementally worked up to what it is over what was there 3 variations?
Well, maybe 4. So went to 5, went to 5.5, went to 6. Did it jump to 7?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it did.
I think they missed the 6. They didn't do the 6.5. But Seth's right. In 91, it went to 5. I think it was 91, 92, and 93 was 5 weeks. Then they grabbed the extra weekend, et cetera. And now we're at, and I've said this is, I think, one of the most amazing parts for somebody of my age is the Saratoga meet is now longer than the fall championship meet. And I think this year, the numbers were the same. The spring-summer meet at Belmont, I think, was 40 days. And that's just all part of the change. But the real big change for me and my family is I come back from my summer vacation, and Saratoga is right here, instead of still being like 3 more weeks of 6 days a week at Belmont Park. And so I'll be off the next 2 Saturdays. We're going to go to Outer Banks. We're going to go to the Library of Congress this year. I didn't have a historical spot that I thought was worthy of our stopping. So I've never been, and I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll spend a week in the Outer Banks and come back and be all set for Saratoga 2023, 40 days of racing. Just amazing.
Yeah,
and the rumor sounds very strong that it's going to be longer. What's that, 2025 they're saying? Summer, or is it next summer?
That said, I'm not sure whether you're talking Belmont Stakes, I'm assuming, yes?
Well, the fact
I don't think it's going to start from the Belmonts. I think if the Belmont Stakes comes up here, it's going to be kind of a festival kind of thing.
Oh, you're thinking they'll go? Well,
they'll go back to one or the other.
So you think they'll be in Saratoga for like 3 days, and then go back to Belmont Park
kind of
for like
I'm assuming
a month, and then come back?
That's kind of what I'm assuming.
Because so what they're planning on running,
and it still may then be an extended Saratoga meet in some fashion, but I don't think it'll.
Oh, we still don't have artist rendering drawings of what Belmont Park is going to look like, which is rare. That's usually the thing they put out front to see what you're buying. So, well, that would be interesting. That would be kind of an interesting idea. I think that's more palatable than running straight through. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
People just have to remember all the logistics that go into when they move up here. People are living up here. People up here are renting houses. It changes the whole dynamic if you start to extend it out too far.
Oh no, listen, I think it's it kind of started to become a thing when it went to like 6 weeks, and people, the old days, people left for a month. It was a little easier to do, but that's
you went to your camp for a while, and camp gets a little cramped after.
It does. Anything else?
I will bring up another sport because I know you're a golf watcher.
Oh,
and you mentioned, and it did. I came home
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday.
I tell
back on
people,
the
Seth
couch.
is the perfect marketing person for golf because he's not that interested, but one thing grabs his
I
interest.
kicked back on the couch, and first Saturday night it was till like 11,
Yes.
and then the next night it was an hour earlier.
Yes.
And again, I don't watch enough golf. In your opinion, you watch much more than I.
Yes.
Did the announcers miss the excitement of like the last 3 or 4 holes where they were giving it away with about 4 holes to go, and they kept saying how tough the last few holes are, and he sinks that putt on the last green, and they go into a playoff, and we're not kind of playing that up properly.
I think they did a bad job. The USGA did a bad job. It's a great course. I had the pleasure of walking in 2017. They limited ticket sales, so there wasn't the amount of roars. And Azinger is clearly not Johnny Miller. I was disappointed. And the United States Open is my favorite golf event, sporting event of the year. I mean, it's one of the few things that I'm a couch potato for. And you're right. NBC they took their shots on Twitter of how poor a broadcast it was.
Like I say, they were putting it in the bank with about 4 or 5 holes to go, and it came down to a putt on the last hole.
I think this is what happened, and I think and surprised with Dan Hicks, who does golf, but they were talking about the last 3 holes being difficult because of yardage, but that's not the case with pros anymore. I mean, they were hitting lofted clubs. They ate up 16, 17. They were talking about how they were all par 4s and they were all over 500 yards. Well, these guys drive the ball 330. It's like an 8-iron into the green. So that was a bad job.
Yeah, they'll be like, for me, it would probably be a 5-iron. He pulled out his wedge.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why the yardage doesn't matter. And Dan Hicks should know better than that. Paul Azinger should know better than that. Azinger, it was not his best day. And a couple things. If you ever have Pat Cummings on, I want to be on the desk. I am telling you, as a vertical player, I've made a couple decisions. I've always said I was going to get this little bundle. There's 2 things I discovered. One is I'm going to do it. And I picked out, and I know this goes against the grain for you, it's going to be Emerald Downs, where I am going to get my education on the pick 4 and the pick 5. I am going to.
That's not necessarily against the grain for me. I used to have with Equidale. I used to have an advertising deal with Portland Meadows, and
I love their logo.
Did a pick 4 for them every.
No, I think the idea was there's 2 reasons I like it. One is the takeout is 10%.
Yeah.
And that's gravitating to me. And I'll just follow the product. But what I basically understand by looking at their charts is the CAWs aren't there.
Yeah.
Because I would figure the 10% takeout kills them because they can't get a rebate at that low of a thing. Now, here's my other thought. Since I'm going to be a neophyte in this, how come everybody that complains about the CAWs hasn't done the same thing? If they're zigging, you got to zag. I don't care that I don't know Emerald Downs. This is about winning money.
I've always said, though, that to me, and if people really thought about it like that, maybe more. But I think, some track announces, hey, we've got the low takeout on this and this, and Twitter or whatever. Let's jump in the pool there. But I think people are going for what they're familiar with.
Well, this is the part where I say
here. It's like
this goes against the grain. I'm going against the grain of what you're saying right now. I don't know boo from Emerald Downs, but the math is right.
But it's like if I'm going to buy a new TV,
right?
Do I buy the brand name at $300 or do I buy the not brand name at $125? And I think
is that analogy? What is it?
I think so because people are more familiar with
Yeah, but
the circuit they follow. So
you think the average person would say, I'm betting against the CAWs. The
we know
takeout is
the average
15.
person does because when these tracks announce these low takeouts, it's not like everybody goes in droves and plays them.
But nowadays, let's say we've eliminated the casual player except for Saratoga, Keeneland, and Del Mar. I think nowadays in the pool, it's all people more into the sport, let's say. Sharp people. Well, I don't think
but they're still playing the higher percentage takeout tracks.
I will not be one. I'm getting my education at Emerald Downs.
I have no argument with going in that direction.
I can't pronounce half the jockeys' names right, but I'm like, what does that matter? I see by the pools the CAWs are not there. What I've read by Pat Cummings is they're not going to go there with the 10% takeout. And if they're the problem, well, that's where you're supposed to go. That seems to be the logical response.
Yeah, no.
Which pick 5 are they not allowed in, or they don't play in New York? The early one or the late one? They have separate rules. I learned that.
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
Okay,
now, but yeah.
So I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. It's going to be Emerald Downs. That took the place of Long Acres. Basically, there's no turf racing. They do have smaller field size, which kind of worries me. But I think that's going to be it. I mean, you got. Reading what Pat Cummings says in the Wall Street article, it's convinced me that if they zig, you have to zag, which has kind of always been my modus operandi as a public handicapper. I'm like, so that's what we're going to do. It'll be Emerald Downs, and we'll see.
Be interesting.
We'll see how it goes. Because I mean, I expect the education to be expensive in the beginning, and then we'll see if I can become a good horizontal player late in the game. But I did a lot of research, and that's what I came up with. I mean, I think they're the lowest in the nation. It's a regular basis. It's not a special or anything like that. So I started making the spreadsheets for Emerald Downs, and I'm sure my wife is like, Emerald Downs. And I told her, I said, well, the Rams play at Seattle to open up the year, and I'm going. I might sneak over to Emerald Downs and pay it a visit.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for Belmont Park?
I am.
Okay. Anything else? Anything from Capital? We're getting ready for Saratoga.
I don't think so. Top of the hour. During the morning,
Ascot at the bottom.
Yeah, all morning long we'll be showing Ascot. So again, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we will have the opener. Currently, I'm looking at the odds. The number 16, Pearls and Rubies, the 8-5 favorite.
The old
currently.
16-27 exacta. What was it? 31 horses in a race the other day.
We had a $240 winner, I think, in one of the and the really good story was Wednesday morning where George Weaver won with a Randy Hill and Company horse. Had a couple of starts and won a little stake at Gulfstream, and then they're on to Ascot. And of course, it was a good story because George's wife was seriously hurt up at Saratoga last year, but she has recuperated, rehabilitated enough that she was over there with them. And I was on the radio with Steve Bick on Wednesday, and before I got it, he connected with George, and you could hear the whole crew. Clearly, they were deservedly very, very excited about the Royal Ascot victory. So that was a nice story.
I was on a flight once with George Weaver.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, very nice guy, young guy.
Yeah. All right, you ready to jump in?
Yes, and I said before the show, our son has I've never been able to go to Ascot because our son's finals, and next year he's in the same thing. But after that, the Morminos will be at Royal Ascot 20.
Get the top hat.
20. You have to rent them. They're unbelievably expensive.
It's probably not cheap to rent either. Also, I was going to say top of the hour. We'll have one Royal Ascot race here. We'll have two in the 10-hour, the Racing Across America. So we just have Ellis Star squeezed in between those because it's the Ohio Derby today with two fills. So we'll talk a little.
Lost his jockey, I saw. I feel bad for that.
He's going to be interesting to see what he does this afternoon because as I was looking around at some folks picking, folks are picking against him. So
he might be one of the most interesting horses. Like everyone says how great he runs in the Derby, and he shows up next in the Ohio Derby.
I think everybody's kind of scratching that, but I think that's just the connections.
Okay.
Kind of picking there, so I don't know if that's really indicative.
Okay.
We will find out though a little bit later today. All right, opener at Belmont. on this Saturday afternoon. We're looking at maiden specials going 6 furlongs.
And we ended up being in the aggregate $15
that's
ahead because I won my bagel was replaced my bagel was replaced by $9 worth of mutual winners. I had 2 winners last week.
Yeah, excellent.
Kicking it off 1-2-6 in the opener.
So does this kick off the next 52?
Well, what I am going to do is I'm going to see how long above water I can stay, how many weeks I can make it out. The problem comes in the autumn when I have to replace the week of the 95. That's when I think I become like the Titanic and I start taking on water, is when that one gets out of the mix.
You get another one. Pop in another $90.
Seth, I've been doing this 25 years. I've had 2 of them, Spain and her. They've both been fillies. 1-2-6, Notable Queen. Adding blinkers this afternoon for the 3rd career start is my top pick. First 2 starts were over at Monmouth Park. I get Manny Franco. Yes, I'm from the rail, but this is my first. This is my top pick. One of the sire is Lord Nelson, and through the years, I always say when they have the pre-entries for the Breeders' Cup, you hold your breath that everybody can get to the big day. I was at Santa Anita in the morning with Steve Bick when they announced that my horse that I loved in the sprint, Lord Nelson, would be scratched out. The young stallion, he was a very good sprinter. My top pick. For second, a firster, Bruce Levine, 2-1 on the board with an offspring of Nyquist. And Jose Ortiz takes them out. How about this? They are 5 for 9 together, these two. Through the roof. And then scratched out yesterday for this spot. Risk Free. Going to the post for the 14th time. Has hit the board in 9 of the previous 13. 1-2-6.
Race number 2 this afternoon at Belmont Park. Maiden specials going a mile on the grass at this point. We'll see. They were predicting weather the last couple of days. And so as I picked my play today, I was looking for dirt races. Right. Last 2 days down there, it was perfectly nice.
Same up here.
They stayed on the grass.
There's a guy with a lawn, and I'm like, is it going to rain? And finally rained. One other thing, like yesterday until the 8th and 9th race, it was really chalky. And I kept looking at the pick 3 and pick 4 prices. And I was like, even if they win and even if they're better than the parlay, I find that hard to believe for 2 hours you chase like $30. I know it sounds good. Now, here's where I diverge with the math. The math sounds good, I know, but I'm like, and then we get the late one where you get the 2 non-favorites or co-favorites, and it goes up to like 400. I'm like, I just think whatever that illogical part of it is, that's the part I like. I mean, it just seems
the way I play those is I will be including the horses that'll get you to $30, and it's just you live to fight another day. But
that's
I'm trying to
me.
Include some that if the 400 hits, you're hitting that as well.
Okay. So it kind of intrigued me, but I think Brian said the same thing. Brian said that I'm going to lose my shirt playing it the way that I've told him I'm going to play it. And I believe that he could be right, but it's the old scorpion and the frog thing.
Well, and hey, take me
across
the river.
Obviously,
I think though what you're planning to do is you're knowing the way you play,
yes.
Do a little research and figure it out, and then go in with the plan. And I think that's always a good idea.
Except facing Mrs. Mormino is the problem.
I teed you up here. Second race, mile on the grass.
876 for me.
And I should note, I wrote the top of my page, so I'm interested to see where you go. I'm guessing on this one. This to me is tough.
I think you're right. And one of the things I've tried to convey to our audience, and not that, I'm a teacher, but, when I think Seth has surmised the race correctly. And my rule of thumb too is you don't fall on the chalks. And I'm 876. You can see I'm 8-1. I think on balance, it's a very even race. I want the $18 horse.
I put the 2 on top. It's 6-1 over the 8.
Yeah.
So I'm right with you.
So Jack Sisterson says this runner out for the 3rd start. First start since early April at Keeneland. I'm not so sure it's as works out as well on turf as it does on dirt. But the sharp debut, a little regression. Now we move forward. For second, number 7, Avita, making the career debut. Bill Mott's barn has been a juggernaut. This offspring of Medaglia d'Oro costs over $400K. And then number 6, River Tay, making the second start for Bruce Brown. Just got beat. Now, this is a Brown runner who was 7-2 on debut. I am of the, well, that was the Wesley Ward horse. That was a good effort. So, but I expect a regression, 8-7-6.
Race number 3 at Belmont. Conditional claimers, $25,000 tags. Non-winners of 2 lifetime. 1 turn, but they're going a mile.
631 Empire Ride for West Point and Tom Morley, who was over at Ascot with his runner. Makes the second start since March. Exits a 1 mile race at Monmouth Park, which remember is a 2-turn effort for a second. Charlie Baker sends out the favorite, the 3, coming off back-to-back turf races. I'm going to suspect that those were foundation races because the first start of the year was off the September layoff. I expect improvement. And then for third, number 1, 631 in the third.
4th race is a plain vanilla $20,000 claimer. The trip, 6.5 furlongs.
5-1-4 for me and 3-2 zone. Seth is more familiar with the 2-3 zone, but the 3-2 zone is first off the claim for 12-5 off a beaten favorite at 3-5. That was in the second start after a freshening. So this is the move that I like more, which is the third off a career start or off of a layoff. For a second from the rail, number 1, Prince James. Ray Handel's barn has been white hot. Ladies and gentlemen, you talk about, this is almost funny to say on June 24th, but Ray's setting himself up for a soft Saratoga meet. I mean, when you're hot at the end of Belmont, and for third, striking speed going out for Charlie Baker off a good third place finish. Joel Rosario gets some out, 5-1-4. Joel got torched on Twitter.
Oh, well.
That ride was not his moment of glory.
That's what Twitter is known for, certainly. And so, yeah. 5th race today, Belmont Park. Starter allowance, 6 furlongs on the grass, and certainly going to be rooting for our friend Eddie F's racing with Dream Point in here.
By the way, our friend Mr. Collins beat me the other day.
Oh, the horseman.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
He did. His
both days.
second-itis.
He went back to back. He won on Saturday. He won again on again, talking about Bonaventure Stables. They won on Saturday. They won again on Sunday.
We kind of thought Ocean's Reserve was a horse that was good to own, that he was making money for him, but he found the winner's circle. 9-1-4 here. Just a quick note, the 10, 11, 12 are MTOs, so I'm on the far outside of the turf race. Highly flammable for Mark Cassie, makes the third start since June of last year, was laid off till April, came back and exploded, then regressed a little bit, and now I'm expecting the big effort off Javier Castellano. One quick note, rare that the rails are both at 18 feet, and you've seen some very fast times, and when you come to Saratoga, that's really part of the conundrum, I think, for the average fan, that, you think these horses will be in the Breeders' Cup based on their time, but the rail's up. And I've said this before, Seth, one of the things that I discovered about when I decided to put the rail settings, there are some rail settings that are complete, only yield fast times, and other rail settings, they can't match it. And that's really, to me, a big thing that they don't talk about, but highly flammable. And I don't think we're getting anywhere near 6-1. Oh, by the way, quick thing. I said last week in the Bed of Roses that Goodnight Olive, I would take 6-5 at that moment, 1-5.
Yeah. I've said
that is just mind-boggling.
I do the afternoon show now, and there's probably 6 or 7 times the 2 or 3 tracks I'm looking at, and where it's just, man, they are really crushing.
I mean, that was a stakes race. And scheduled to break from number 5 position. Number 1, Don't Let Me Down, is my second pick. And then relate with these, what are becoming for me, these famous LSU Silks, 9-1-4.
I am looking at the Royal Ascot feed here. We're showing 1:10 to post time. So I guess we'll just kind of sit back and take a look at that. Let me just kind of go through here. And
Do they have post-time drag at Ascot, or are they good?
They looks like they're going in, and it says 59 seconds.
And they measure it by seconds.
I would assume
that is my
correct.
greatest. It's my favorite meet of all time.
Favorite right now at 8-5 is number 16, Pearls and Rubies. First-time starter for Aiden O'Brien. Ryan Moore is on board, and you go from 8-5 to number 5, Lightning Leo is 6-1. Another first-time starter. These are 2-year-olds vying for $120,000 in the Chesham Stakes. So should be an interesting. Once you, there are a couple of 9-1s in there as well. Once you get past those, there are big balloons here. But again, the favorite, number 16, Pearls and Rubies. Let's send it to Royal Ascot. Race number 1 on the final day of the meet. We'll be back in a couple. Stay tuned.
With 7 races to look forward to. So 16 in the opener, 1,400 meters. It's straight. They come out. They will go lickety split. They'll go really fast here. You watch this one. This will not take too long. And who's going to be the strongest at the finish? I'll go with Lightning Leo. There'll be many with chances here. And a few who don't look like they have a big chance will probably surprise us all. Alan Howes is the commentator for us at Royal Ascot on day 5 on this Saturday. 2.4 Pearls and Rubies. Horse number 16 is the favourite. La Garrida's 9.35. This is the last one. Alan, all over to you.
And they're off. Racing away for the Chesham Stakes, the 2-year-olds over the 7 furlongs. Dallas Star, but as well away there from stall number 1. Up there early on is the Monty. More towards the centre is Carolina Reaper in those green and white silks, being tracked through by the blue Snellen. Sadati not far behind him with Lightning Leo, then Pearls and Rubies and Warney. More towards the inside in the yellow is Golden Mind, and then Count Palatine, the green jacket, the white cap. Over toward the far side then is Hot Fuss in those blue and yellow silks. Odyssey is racing in company with that one. May's just in front of those two. Content is more back towards the rear of the field, together with Lagarida, as they're about to now race towards the final 3.5 furlongs. Inside that mark, Lightning Leo together with Carolina Reaper. Dallas Star, the white cap, to the far side. Then Warney Sadati. Content is creeping into it. McNuke is ridden along to the back of the field. So too Count Palatine. May's under pressure over toward the left-hand side. They're inside the final quarter mile. Plenty of chances here. Carolina Reaper, Snellen, Content. And there goes Pearls and Rubies, the white sleeves and cap. They're inside the final furlong and a half. And it's Pearls and Rubies, and Snellen now go on from Carolina Reaper, who's battling away. Namonti's trying to stay on. Snellen in the blue. Down the centre is Pearls and Rubies. Odyssey's flying for the back. Golden Mind is keeping on as well. Pearls and Rubies and Snellen, they're wide apart. They hit the line. Snellen and Pearls and Rubies is close between them. Then came Odyssey and Golden Mind, and Hot Fuss away from Carolina Reaper and Warney.
On a terrific start to the day. Near side is number 17, Snellen. Gavin Cromwell, I think he's won it. 16, he's going to be second. That's Pearls and Rubies for Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien, but very close. I imagine they'll call it officially a photo, but it looks like Snellen, who won her only race for Gavin Cromwell. Here she is, one of
It did look like Snellen. Man, it took them a long time to separate. They were a pack for about 3/4 of that race. But Snellen, 13-1, Pearls and Rubies, ran very well as the 8-5 favorite. Both of those first-time starters. And they get a nice Royal Ascot win for Snellen. And again, hold your tickets, but that's the way it looked there. All right, let's jump back into Belmont for this Saturday afternoon. We'll kick off the stakes action here in race number 6. It's the Wild Applause, $150,000 up for grabs. These are 3-year-old fillies going a mile on the grass.
382 for me in this aptly named race. Chad Brown sends out the 3 for the second start of the year. Came back in nearly 10-1 in the Edgewood. That's Kentucky Derby time. Big race for 3-year-old fillies. Raced well considering it was the seasonal debut. I like 7-2 with IRAD in this spot. For second, on the outside of the turf runners, Breathe Away. Christophe Clement's runner, won down at Gulfstream Park, going 2 turns, and then finished second in the Hilltop as the beaten favorite in the last. And for third, Tax Implications, making the seasonal debut for Chad. I'm going to be interested to see how they bet, because this horse was very impressive at 2 and now makes the seasonal debut. So 3-8-2.
Nice little field there. 7th race today. Plain vanilla claimers, actually, $16,000, 8.5 furlongs.
5-6-2. Jail and Journey is my top pick. First off the claim for Greg DePrima. This was in June. This horse has hit the board in all 3 spots and 3 starts at Belmont. Like the fact he reaches out to get Trevor McCarthy. For second, Higher Quality. First off the claim for Naipaul Chatterpole. And for third, Truculent, making the second start since March. I know it was a beaten favorite in the last, but I like that effort. 5-6-2.
Race number 8, an allowance. Non-winners have won, other than they're on the grass at 1.25 miles.
Now, we have different pages, probably downloaded different. At the top of mine, it has the Ohio Derby for the big spot today. 274. Apparently, they have an all-stakes pick 4. So 274. Hold the Salsa. No way. We don't hold the Salsa. But outran the odds big time in the last, nearly 50-1, which we're not going to get anywhere near that price. Going 11 furlongs for second. Number 7 in here. Let me just turn the page. I always like these 10 furlong races. Pioneering Spirit for Linda Rice, who I said, boy, says she has just demolished the bar graph idea for trainers for me. And then Fighter in the Wind for Mike Maker, the 4, 274. I would say I have really never seen anything like this consistency at the level that Linda runs the vast majority of her horses.
No, she's phenomenal for.
I mean, usually
some
they have
now.
Ups and downs and wiggles, and she has not.
9th race, optional claimer with the C condition. They're running for a mere $105,000, going a mile.
It's good. 621 Movie Moxie, my top pick for Linda Rice. 2-back-1 going a mile. The more recent effort at 8-1 at this level was solid enough. We're on the outside. For second, number 2, Gerrymander, who's the favorite in here, getting Lasix, making the 3rd start of the year. Of course, my big score with Gerrymander was in the Mother Goose last year. And for third, Venti Valentine, who I don't think, well, I probably should ask other people. Do you think she's lived up to her early career form?
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, she's
either.
one of those, yeah.
6-2-1. I think many people felt she had a real hankering for distance of ground and was going to make some real noise in her career.
I mean, I would just say she's one of those horses that as a 2-year-old
was
kind of dominated.
like literally.
Yeah, and then they caught
up.
10th at Belmont, state-bred maiden claimers, going 6 on the grass, and I just pulled it up. Let me pull it up here. Andy Serling 1 hour ago. We are on the turf today at Belmont.
Which is good because this is my favorite thought of the day. 5-3-8 for me, and purest performance. They had blinkers in the second career start. Huge jockey switch in here. I don't know that we're going to get 8-1. I mean, beaten 2 lengths at 50-1 on debut, and now gets Javier. For second, Dance With Me, Babe, making the 3rd career start. Just got beat at 13-1. And for third, Mary Catherine, making the 3rd career start. Marked improvement in the second one, and they're taking blinkers off today. 5-3-8 in the finale at 5:51.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll shift our attention to Monmouth for Saturday afternoon. Stay tuned.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops, my bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Turn our attention to Monmouth Park with a 12:40 start time. We're going to kick it off. And they have been, I told people for many years, they've run turf sprints my whole life. You know, they were doing it in the early 80s. So we're going to go state bred, Jersey breds, optional claimers, non-winners of 1, 5.5.
5, 8, 4, and 2 for me. Magical Jamie on top. Came up from Florida, put in a pretty good second on the move to Monmouth last time. Trainers, going okay at the meet. Stuck in a little bit of a bridesmaid situation, however, with 25 starts, 3 wins in 11 seconds. So I'm sure on the training side of things, that's a little frustrating. But the horses are clearly running well. We'll see if this one can break out of that bridesmaid mode, having run second last time. But again, seeming to maybe be primed for a better effort. What's up, Mr. Z in the second spot? Try a little stakes race when last seen, but when last seen was last September. So the question mark here is going to be the comeback effort. I'm not familiar with the trainer. The trainer, as far as the daily racing form, when I printed it up, was showing no stats. So I was a little concerned about that. As a decent workout just a little over a week ago coming into this, however. When I looked and given that the trainer is not showing anything, I expected to look over to the morning line and see something more like 8-1, which I would prefer given the trainer has no stats. We're looking 4-1 on the morning line. We'll see what we get this afternoon. And then Cassation in the third spot. Most recent couple of races were on the dirt, but you get on the page, this horse is probably better on the turf. So with the return to the turf and having shown a little speed last time at a mile, I think the horse could be interesting in here this afternoon. The opener at Monmouth, 5, 8, 4, and 2.
To the second, still racing 5.5, but on the dirt, claimers, capital B, 5,000.
7, 5, 3, and 1. Number 7, Motion to Strike. Tends to show some early speed. Didn't really do that last time. These are the kind where I could go either way. I just have a feeling this horse is going to outclass the bunch. That Paco Lopez winds up on board attracted my attention a little bit, but certainly the last few starts were a little bit disappointing. Wasn't able to show that early speed last time and wound up a well-beaten 5th. Did show speed, though, in the other races down the page. But what is my concern? My concern is 2 starts back, there was avoided claim, came back at the same price and ran worse last time, and now drops down to the absolute bottom. And again, if Paco Lopez hadn't, elected to ride, I might have been a little more leery. And I'm still a little questionable, but I'll put Motion to Strike on top. I think is going to outclass this bunch. Tetragrammaton in the second spot, also dropping down to the bottom level, having raced against better all the way down the page. This one, though, seems in a little bit better form. You could make the argument off the third place finish last time than the top pick. So again, we'll see a couple of horses who are, moving down in a way and off races that are a little bit suspicious. Similar scenario for Be By the Sea. This one came up from Gulfstream to Monmouth last time and was a well-beaten 7th. Now does take that drop that could wake the horse back up. It's that kind of a race. I mean, there were no other directions to go where I kind of felt any more of a level of confidence, but interesting to see how this one plays out with those droppers. 7, 5, 3, and 1.
To the third, claimer 7,500, racing 6.
4, 3, 5, and 6. I'll put Holy City on top. Another one taking a drop, but this one was at this level 2 back and ran very well. That race is bookended by a couple against better, but also a couple on the turf. So that race 2 back at this level was a decent race, and it was on the dirt. We're getting that whole situation again. I'll put Holy City on top. 9th of April in the second spot. Came up to Monmouth and had a couple of turf distance races, now gets back to the dirt, cuts back in distance. I thought the scenario here was perhaps a little bit intriguing with that in the third start at Monmouth so far this season. Then Smooth Rico was down at Florida, then came up to Laurel, went in a 16 claimer, ran okay back in March, then laid off most of March, all of April. Came back last time against 12-5 claimers here, showed a little early punch before fading. I'm going a little further down the page and hoping with the class drop today, we can remember that. And with the 10-pound apprentice on board, I think we'll probably get that early speed. It is Claudio Gonzalez. And again, a horse who has shown some speed. So now drop and you get the 10-pound apprentice. And I always say these are the kind that are best for them because the trainer can say, just go as fast as you can, as far as you can. And sometimes that all works out. Third at Monmouth, 4, 3, 5, and 6.
On to the fourth. Claimers 20,000. Non-winners of 3 lifetime. Also racing 6.
7, 6, 2, and 1. I'm going to put Title Shot on top. Greg Sacco trainee now coming off the claimed away from Jerry Hollendorfer. Had been down at Oaklawn earlier this season, came up to Monmouth and put in a couple of decent tries right in and around this level, a couple of third place finishes. And I think if you look at those races and further down the page, this horse is pretty consistently putting numbers together that maybe have a slight edge on this bunch. Charger for Rudy Rodriguez comes over from the New York base and gets a little relief off the starter allowance try last time. And again, overall in the hunt more often than not in the last probably, half a dozen races or so. And then Rumjar, I talked about the consistent numbers of the top pick. This would be the one that if you look down the page is tending to throw those type of numbers to contend. 2 to 1 on the morning line as the favorite. Yeah, this horse wasn't jumping out to me as a strong favorite, particularly off the last effort. So again, I went a little more with a little more confidence towards Title Shot on top in the fourth. 7, 6, 2, and 1.
On to the fifth. We get back to the turf. State breds. Fillies and mares, maiden special weights, going a mile on the 16th out of the chute.
Should it go on the dirt? I kept things the same. Some races, if there aren't MTOs or there's no real dirt form difference, and I'll just think the best horse may be the best horse. So I have a 3, 5, 7, and 2 either way. Postino's Prophecy on top. Nice little second place finish in the seasonal debut last time. Trainer's a little light on wins. I have no wins so far in 2023, but a little late on starts as well. Maybe this one breaks the trainer through. Second slot, Duchess of Dustin. Kelly Breen trainee went off as the favorite. I'm going to be interested to see what the odds are and then how this horse runs, because did go off as the favorite in the debut. It was 2 to 1, so there was some kind of buzz, but at 2 to 1, it wasn't the strong whispers you may expect. And then just seemed to get outrun in a fashion on a sloppy track that says, given the fact that this horse was the favorite, I'm willing to give the horse another look. With the experience under the belt, given that was a sloppy track. Now, again, there may be some weather today as well, but we'll see. I thought the horse could be a little bit interesting. But as I say, I'm interested to see how the horse does, but what the horse goes off at as well. We were 2 to 1. It was not an inspiring effort. We're looking at 6 to 1 on the morning line. I would kind of hope that would float up, but I'm not sure that'll happen. Single barrel Bourbon in the third spot. Showed some speed last time before fading to third. That was the seasonal debut. You would have to think has the potential to move forward and do a little better this afternoon with that one under the belt. In the fifth, 3, 5, 7, and 2.
On to the sixth, staying at a mile and 16th, but on the dirt. Open company in for 16 or non-winners of 1.
5, 1, 3, and 6. I'm going to put Justice Department on top. Why? Well, if you're watching enough, you know I like Chad Brown and Klarovich runners. This one, like many of theirs do, won very early in the career, tossed in a clunker at Gulfstream in the career debut, and then came back right up here at Monmouth to score in the second career start. An offspring of Gun Runner. They paid just under $250,000 for this horse. And again, with these win early connections, lived up to that in career start number 2. And again, given what we saw in that start, I think a pretty good match with this group also, and has the potential to keep it going. Michael Dubb and company have Class Actor, another Chad Brown trainee, coming off a win at Keeneland in the career debut, but at that point was in the barn of Brad Cox. But that they moved this one to Chad Brown. He elects to come over, try this race at Keeneland. And again, given that he has Justice Department in here, I think I'll trust him to know that this one will stack up all right. El Hermano in the third spot, Paco Lopez on board, and comes in off 3 nice starts at Monmouth so far. First seasonal start at Monmouth, had been racing earlier this year at Laurel and Parks, but the first start at Monmouth, a good second on the turf. The last 2 on the dirt were a win and an okay third last time. I think is very much a contender in with this group. The 6th at Monmouth, 5, 1, 3, and 6.
On to the 7th race. We have claimers in for 12-5 on the turf, going a mile.
This one should go off the turf. I do have some dirt picks. Should this one wind up on the dirt? 14, 11, 12, and 13. But on the turf, 6, 8, 7, and 9. We'll put Barley 1 on top. Trainer is a little cool at the meet, and that always concerns me. We're far enough into the meet where if Barnes haven't won yet, I always tend to think, let me wait until they can turn that around. But it has some second and thirds, and I just thought this one hasn't been seen since last fall at the Belmont at Aqueduct meet. But coming back for the reduced rate, I thought could be a player in with these. But, there's not a ton of confidence. Alternatives, Dreamliner, hasn't been seen since Tampa. The Tampa races, I thought finishing position wasn't much, but the numbers were okay. And certainly the entire page features numbers that stack up very well with this group. And Just in Time for Wine also hasn't been seen since Tampa. This one with some early speed, and from the 7 post position, maybe in a good spot to kind of control throughout. And, if you're getting that 7-2 that you see on the morning line, with this early speed, Just in Time for Wine is going to be very intriguing in here. In the 7th at Monmouth, 6, 8, 7, and 9.
I'm looking it up. Doesn't Tampa Bay have to run like those odd days coming up?
Yeah, that's right. That should be right
it's
around.
Usually,
it's like the last day
June
of June
30th
and the
or
first,
something, July
first day
1st?
of July, maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
On
And
to
it's just I think it's technically attached to the last
meet,
I think.
and that holds them over getting to the.
But it's some kind of technicality to keep their simulcast license.
Yes.
Or,
Yeah, trust me, it's a technicality. 8th race, 6 furlongs on the dirt. Claimers in for 16.
2, 5, 1, and 7. Dart. Nice win last time. Claimed out of that. Moves up a little bit, but most of the races on the page were at this level or better. I don't think the move up is going to be a big obstacle. Outlaw Country in the 2nd spot. Also claimed last time. Also coming out of a good race. Why do I know it's a good race? Because I just called it a good race, because Dart was the winner there and Outlaw Country ran 2nd. So we'll see if the exacta repeats this afternoon. Shea on the Lamb in the 3rd spot. Broke the maiden last time for 12-5. The class is clearly going to be the question mark. But since arriving at Monmouth, seems to have kind of turned a corner and figured it out in career starts number 7 and 8. And I think this horse will be an okay fit stepping out of the maiden company in and amongst this particular group. 8th race, 2, 5, 1, and 7.
On to the 9th feature, fillies and mares dashing 5.5 on the turf in the Goldwood.
Top of the page, I've written competitive race. I have it 6. First, let me say if it goes on the dirt. If it goes on the dirt, 10, 14, 9, and 11. But on the turf, 6, 9, 3, and 5. I also think the 7 is a contender in here. But I'm going to put Glitter up on top. Laid off from early February until early June. Came up from Gulfstream to Monmouth and was a nice winner in allowance company. I think if this horse can put a couple like that together, and that's never easy, but if the horse can, I think is absolutely logical as a player in here. And again, at the 6-1 morning line, very interesting. Second slot, Self-Isolation, also 6-1. David Jacobson brings this one over. Limited starters so far at Monmouth, but going well here also. 5 exacta finishes and 7 starts, according to the DRF stats at this point. One of those wins was with this horse late in May, and then followed that up with a win over at Laurel. So comes in off a 2-race win streak, in good form, trainer going well. Self-Isolation, again, 6-1 on the morning line is intriguing. And then in the third spot, Train to Artemis, been facing some stakes company for trainer Kelly Breen. Paco Lopez on board, and he was on board last time. Preakness weekend down at Pimlico to win the very one. So again, coming in good form, stepping out of stakes. I say stepping out. This is a stakes race over at Monmouth. So this one has been in some stakes races and continues in that fashion, whereas my other two are kind of stepping into stakes. But Trained Artemis off the nice stakes win last time at Pimlico is clearly logical. And on the 5-2 morning line favorite. Interested to see how this all shakes out vis-a-vis the odds, because I think, as I say, it's a competitive field. Should be a fun race if it holds on the turf. 6-9, 3-5.
And in the finale, Phillies and Merrow claimers in for 7,500, racing 6.
5-2, 3-6. Parisian Vibe on top. Nice win, 2 back on the dirt. Claimed out of that race by Ken Sweezy for 7,500. Then they went over to the turf and they bounced up to a 20 claimer, conditional claimer. So I like the confidence shown, and it almost paid off. They just missed that day. Now they get back to the dirt and back to the level of the claim. With the second place finish, they put a little money in the bank. I think very live in here on the scenario. Bullet on tap, 8-5 on the morning line. A couple of fourth place finishes most recently at this level, but the cutback today should prove beneficial. Last couple of races were at a mile. They were also down at Gulfstream, but coming up to Monmouth, dropping, again, going at this level, as I say, been at this level down at Gulfstream. But I'm guessing at Monmouth, this might be a productive level for this horse, but particularly on the cutback. And Queen Cadence in the third spot. Nice win last time at Laurel, albeit in February, but it's Claudio Gonzalez. I would think the horse will be ready for the return off a little bit of a layoff. In the 10th and final at Monmouth, 5-2, 3-6.
You know, doing Monmouth, it just dawned on me, in Maryland, if they go to Pimlico, they can only run 6 furlongs.
Oh, well.
I don't think that's good.
Well,
that was always the problem with the inner dirt track. Remember, they basically ran 2 distances on the inner dirt, 6 furlongs and a mile 70 yards, with a few miles 16 sprinkled in.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a fact of life in some of these venues, for better or worse.
You know, what I was wondering is why, with grandstands, why they don't build in a place where land is less expensive and build
Well, I think a lot of these tracks were built where it was less expensive.
Oh, absolutely.
Hollywood Park would be the perfect example.
Yeah,
of
almost. You're absolutely right. The spread of it going in, because they're so limited by the surroundings and no ability to grow. But we'll see. But summer is upon us. So that's right. I mean, it's officially summer.
The one that I keep hoping, I mean, I get why they don't, but a turf course at Oaklawn. Now that they've kind of extended a little bit, and people always have said that for years, and I have to explain to people, well, in January, it's not pleasant there, or February. So
I think where people get most,
it would still be a
the
limited
fact that Fairgrounds and Oaklawn, and they are 2 states that touch each other, but the weather must be just different enough that New Orleans can run and Oaklawn.
Yeah,
Oaklawn
I mean, you wouldn't be doing anything in January or February, and maybe part of March. But then now they go to the Derby weekend, and it just may not make sense to. It would still be a short turf season, so maybe it doesn't make sense. But it'd be fun if they did it.
What amazes me at Oaklawn is they do so well that it doesn't even grow more than it's grown. I mean, I don't think you have to be afraid of the Louisiana circuit. So, but That's for,
another one, and I'd love to see a turf course. This one would make way more sense at Finger Lakes.
well, listen, they didn't have a turf course at Tampa until almost the end of the century. So there you go.
Which changed things
Florida.
markedly for them.
And for Gulfstream.
Yeah, and I think it would make a big difference to New York racing.
I think many people have scratched their heads about that one. I think many people thought turf course, maybe some night racing would really make their product really grow, as it were. But that's for other people to decide. But for me, it's going to be Emerald Downs. It's the greater Seattle, Washington. 10% takeout. Apparently, no CAWs, and Brian is absolutely sure I am going to get my head knocked in playing it the way that I'm going to play it, as the Scorpion said. Which the people I know is I'm not buying tickets for the $30 ones. I'm just not playing those horses. From time to time, I might play one, but I'm going to figure it out. But he says he goes, whatever your bankroll is, you're going to lose it all. So he's a smart guy.
Mr. Confidence.
Well, he's, because he plays it,
yeah,
and he knows, and he says,
does.
We've gone through it. He listens to me, and then he just shakes his head and goes, it doesn't work that way. I said, well, we're going to find out. I mean, I have swum upstream before, so I'm not afraid of that.
As I said, the $30 winner gives you, you live to fight another day, just because if I'm playing, I'm looking for some prices in 2 or 3 of the legs, and if I can get 1 or 2 of those, that's great. It's just I'm not sure which 1 or 2 legs that's going to happen in.
My thought with Brian was, and I think I understand it now. I want to do the 3D part. Is I want those tickets that your tickets are for the $30 ones. I want that elsewhere. And I told him, I said I have parsed it out that I really need to hit like 3 over the course of the year to show a positive ROI. I mean, that's really my goal. I'll say to the people I consider almost family. The bankroll is $5,000. I want to make 20% on my money, so that's $6,000. So my goal is to hit 3 of them for $2,000 a year for the whole year. That's my exact accounting way of it. Brian says I will be negative 5,000, but he stays. I go. You say you got a couple of races from Royal Ascot. You got Ellis. Star on. What else you got? You got a pick?
I'm just looking. It's 3 minutes to post for the second race at 3.5 minutes, and the favorite is currently the number 5, Covey. Frankie Dettori on board for John Gosden and Judd Mott. So we'll.
I wish they had field sizes like that at Emerald Downs. I like that 31 horse field. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess the next time I will see you will be at the eve of the meet. I think we're going to do something. You're going to do something Sunday, as I'm coming back from the quiet day after the Outer Banks. And then I guess you and I are going to do something on Wednesday, the 12th. I might try and sneak in a Fort Erie on Tuesday, the 11th.
Oh, no, Fort Erie's not. Have you ever been?
No, I am chomping to go, and they run on Tuesday.
I walked by the Tiki Bar, and people recognized me, so it may happen to you. There are viewers.
All right. He stays, I go. Have a great Saturday afternoon. They recognize you at 40.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.